Hello.
Hello.
Salut. Sudia un hajduk. Surprise, we're reviewing the Numa Numa song.
Okay, that's a new one to me.
Hi, and welcome to New to the Scene with Nick and Lance. And today, we're giving you a special treat.
Yep.
We're a week late,
As
as per normal.
I'm not going to the theaters on a weekend for a popular movie.
I get it.
Screw that.
And we are doing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
One take, Nick. I didn't fuck it up.
That's good. Until right now.
But yeah, this is we loved the first movie. I thought it was really great. Had to try and get a little. We didn't want to be super late on this one, so Nick trailed about a week behind on it. But
Were you trailing behind, or did you go to see it?
I saw it that weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw it on Sunday.
Okay.
Last Sunday. So, but yeah, we had to just guff about it a little bit, and we're happy you're here.
Yes.
Welcome.
So I guess if you're also a week behind, or almost 2-ish weeks behind on seeing this movie, and you're curious, you were waiting to hear what we thought about it first, well, you're just in time.
Well,
Late.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's just our style, man.
Yes.
And we're glad to know it's your style too.
All right.
So we're gonna give this movie a rating up top, just so you don't waste your time. If you're like, fuck these losers, I just want to know what they think, and then you want to go dick off somewhere else. We like to do it right at the top, and then after that,
Then we get into spoilers.
straight up spoilers. So after we give our numbers, turn it off.
Yeah, we'll definitely. We'll give one final warning after numbers, just so you can turn it off. But we're going to talk about the movie.
Yep.
Because we want to talk about the movie,
Indeed.
and therefore we put a camera in front of us so you can all you can join in. Yeah. Tell us how right/wrong we are, depending on which side of the.
It's the comments on fucking YouTube. They're just going to tell us how wrong we are. So.
Well, the best part is they get filtered through me first.
Hey, they're just gonna make a video being like, "Fuck these losers." No one cares enough. Never mind.
No.
Not gonna happen.
Wait until we get more numbers, then we'll get the fuck these losers.
Can't wait for that day.
Don't worry, it'll get filtered through me first.
And then we'll go and complain about your video and get it shut down.
That's if we were putting.
If you don't like ours.
I was gonna say that's if we're putting clips of. If we put clips in our things, we'd probably do better. But then, like the video company or the other companies would look at it and just take all the money.
That'll work.
And then claim us and maybe get our channel shut down. So I don't want to deal with that shit at this point in time. We'll stay to the visual podcast.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move.
Yeah.
All right. So, Nick, if you had to give this movie a rating from 0 to 10, 5 being directly in the middle, what would you give it?
I'm gonna give this one a 6. I want to see how high. What big number did you put there? Let me see that shot. Let me see that 8 or 9. Let me see it. Yep.
All right.
Lance, what'd you give it?
I gave it a 10.
Oh, no, I went high, but not that high. So I guess be forewarned that we're going to talk about this movie, particularly why I gave it middling and why he gave it a perfect 10. So plenty of time to click the fuck away.
Yep. All right. Are you gone? Because I'm about to tear him a new asshole.
Yeah. So this is the 10th Spider-Man movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm bored as fuck listening to how hard it is to be Spider-Man.
Okay.
And that's what most of this movie was.
But that was Miles basically saying you don't have to be.
At the end of the movie. But the rest of the movie was him saying, man, it's hard to be Spider-Man. Spider-Woman being like, man, it's hard to be Spider-Man. Going into the Spider-Verse with all the Spider-Man being like, man, it's hard to be Spider-Man. And I've heard it a lot. I'm bored of it. I'm kind of bored of multiverse at this point. Because when Beyond the Spider-Verse came out, that was like the first multiverse movie that came out. Since then, we've gotten Ant-Man, we've gotten Doctor Strange. Even Flashpoint is coming out at some point. I don't know. I think they're just calling it Flash the movie.
Yes.
But we're getting so much shit about all these beyond the verse things where it seems like it doesn't matter how fucked up we make our story, we can fix it by pulling in a new variant or something. I'm bored of it.
And see, but it's... Okay.
I'm bored.
I get it. And your view on that is 100% correct. However, I will say that it doesn't matter what it is when they remake anything like Batman. Mm-hmm. Every single time his parents got to get killed in that fucking alley and the pearls got to explode everywhere.
Right. And are you happy to see that every time, or are you also bored of seeing his parents die?
I'm also bored of it.
So to the point where you have to do something like really weird with it. I think Harley Quinn did a weird enough take on the Batman's parents getting murdered that it was more fun to watch.
But this is what I will say in defense of it. They got more artistic with it as it went along. I think it was the Zack Snyder movies where it had like him shooting Thomas Wayne, and when he put the gun in Martha's face, the pearls like hooked over the gun, and when he pulled the trigger, the slide action basically made the beads explode. It looked neat.
It looks better, but it's still the reason you have to do that shit is because it's the same fucking thing and it's boring.
Well, so one of my favorite videos you can find on YouTube right now is somebody actually went around the world and asked people Batman's origin story. And they found plenty of people who had not ever seen any Batman movie, but they knew exactly how his parents died because that storyline has been done so many times that everyone fucking knows it. However, they always have to do the thing about the tragedy in Spider-Man's life that makes him the man he is and blah. But that's the thing about like Spider-Man comics is they try to make it real, as in like these superhero people, their lives aren't perfect, and Peter more so than most, just because he's very human. He's very
he's the one that's just a kid.
Yeah, he's a dude who got bit by a spider, and like he has his trials and tribulations. What I did like is that this movie turned it on its ear, where it was like, this is a thing that has to happen. You can't change it. And he's like, no, I'm not fucking listening to that shit anymore. I'm gonna start doing things my way. You're not gonna tell me how to do things.
Which would be a cool message, maybe in a year or two or whatever when they finish it, because this movie ain't done.
Right.
And that, I don't know if you remember when we went to see The Matrix 2, and they ended The Matrix 2 on a dun dun dun, and I'm like, man, fuck this movie. And I came out of a movie that I was kind of like, whatever on, and they gave me the next time on Matrix Ball Z, enjoy our exciting conclusion, and like, fuck this shit. They did it in the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie that ended on a wait for the next movie, and I'm like, fuck this movie. So in this movie, it was almost to like 2 minutes off where I'm like, man, this movie's fucking long. How the fuck are they gonna I feel like I've been in this movie for like hours. How are they gonna wrap up this story? And then it's like, it's gonna come out, and then I'm like, fuck this movie, shit, seriously.
I guess I already kind of knew that.
I didn't know that.
So the first movie did it too, where it was like everything was set right, and then you hear Gwen going miles from like far away.
But that story was done.
Sure.
And it left itself open to do more. This movie did not conclude. Like, Empire Strikes Back left itself open, but the main arc of it kind of felt done-ish, but there's more questions and stuff to be answered. This one, none of that shit was done. No arc was closed. They opened new questions, because he went back to Universe 43 or 42 or whatever
42,
it was.
I think it was.
Instead of where he went. They didn't like wrap up, like, he didn't go back and tell his parents, like, this is who I am and what I'm going to be, and wrap up that storyline. We didn't get that far. He tried to, but he was in the wrong universe, and they're like, there's no Spider-Man here because you're in the universe where your spider came from or whatever. So they opened up a new thread rather than closing it, which is annoying. Now I got to wait for a year or more to go back and finish it.
I liked that.
I don't like that.
I liked that curve of them saying this thing basically like builds the cocoon that shunts you back to like your verse.
Oh, see, him being shunted to 42 is interesting. Them not wrapping shit up in this movie is what I don't like.
Yeah, I mean,
leave it open, but give me some. There was zero conclusions.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily know it's going to be 2 years till we get the next movie.
It's a year or two. I can't remember. I saw like them planning to do it in like late 2024 or some. But they also have a writer's strike right now too. So who the fuck knows?
Well, I'm hoping the script's already written. If they've gotten that far and like have this much, they've got to have most of the groundwork done.
You don't write a fully complete script that far ahead of time, I don't think. I don't. Maybe they're animating both at the same time. Maybe I'm wrong. I've not looked into it. Maybe they wrote it all ahead of time and they've just been going through it. But I think you kind of like write as much as you need and have the bones and maybe some specific scenes, and then you kind of start like working on as much of this as so you can get that out. So you have the rest of the time to finish this bulk.
I'm not sure. Like, I would like to believe that like most of the storyline of this is done because with what happened with him getting shunted to 42, with who he is in the 42 universe, who his uncle is, what's going on back in his universe. Like, I think that you cannot yes and your way through that. You have to have...
Oh, yeah. You've got the beats, but I don't know if you have specifics written. I know you're like, this is the scene in which this is going to happen. I don't know if you've gone through and written all of the dialogue verbatim as it's going to appear.
Okay.
I don't know if you do. I don't know if you go that far yet. Maybe they do.
But who knows?
But even when we were watching like Lord of the Rings and it was coming out, they finished the first movie, and once that movie's out, everything else is shot, but they don't necessarily have the editing done. They don't have the CGI done. So they put that one out, and then they start working on the next one. And despite the fact that it's all shot and finished, air quotes, like all the shots are done, you still need to put it all together. And with an animated movie, I imagine, I don't know, maybe some of the voice work is done, maybe some of the scenes are done, but I don't know how much of that is actually ready to go.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. It's in doing the voice work and everything like that. It's got to be a lot faster than doing anything animation. And I feel like when they started making this movie, I got to believe that they were just like, this storyline, we can get a lot out of this storyline. You know, so, you know, let's go ahead and split it into two movies, kind of like they did with the last Harry Potter movie. You know, like they did the movie 8, 7, and then movie 8, just so they didn't just like, you know, try and compact that gigantic ass book into one movie.
I guess if this was called like a part 1,
that would have been better for you.
Because I went in expecting like this to finish, and it didn't. I also went in expecting like I loved the first one. I had a lot of fun with that one. So I was going into this one with my expectations up here. And when it was just more, man, it's hard to be Spider-Man in it, I was bored. Because I'm like, I've seen, this is the 10th fucking Spider-Man movie. Every single fucking Spider-Man movie has been like, man, it's hard to be Spider-Man in it.
Yeah, but it's the best Spider-Man movie.
It's not.
It's just in my opinion, like, I like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Those were my tops, but like, I honestly, I love the first movie. I love the second movie, the animation. I didn't think it could get any better, but to me it took out a lot of that fuzzying, dizzying effect. And this one, it still had the depth that felt like you were, you know, the depth of range, like you were looking at a comic book, but at the same time, I didn't get that motion sickness like I did the first movie.
Sure. So, like, this movie's like a 4 or 5 to me, but the animation makes it a 6. Like, it's fucking beautiful. And some of it I like, some of it I don't like. I don't necessarily like that, you know, while it's fun that you see, what's Troy's real name? Donald Glover?
Yes.
As like a real person, like, yeah, look, he's chilling. I'm like, okay, that's fun, but I don't know that I like them pulling out some of that style. Like, I didn't really like Spider-Punk Hobie. See,
I loved him.
I kind of hated him. And the animation style was, sometimes it looked good, sometimes it didn't. It was like that very kind of chaotic, fuck the establishment. We're not sticking to one animation style sort of animation to it, and it was jarring to me.
Well, see, the way I took that was that you have different artists who write different comic books and have different art styles. So, like, every universe had like a different art style to it.
Right, but his was inconsistent with himself.
Yeah, because they did a lot of the bleeping out and like the graffiti kind of look to it.
Some of it kind of looked like it was on like paper, like line paper or something like that, and then some of it looked animated. Something like it was, his style was inconsistent with itself. I think being kind of the fuck the anarchy or fuck that system. I'm gonna do my own sort of animation thing as kind of like his style or whatever, but it didn't. Whereas like the Vulture one was like that Renaissance kind of.
And that's gorgeous.
It was neat. Again, it's jarring. I don't know that I like. Again, it's a style choice, but I don't know that I like it. I don't know that I like Gwen in her kind of, I don't know, muddied out universe, like where the colors were kind of different or whatever. Fighting the Renaissance painting one, and I'm like, okay, it's interesting. But then when they started mixing a bunch of other styles, I'm like, I don't know. It's okay. I don't know.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from, but I think that's what I loved about the movie. Is I loved that everything had kind of its own stylization to it with whatever universe. Like, I loved the dude that had like the purple thing across him. And he's like, I look cool, you know, like the way he was kind of narrating his head, making sure that he was always striking the perfect poses and shit like that. The guy that was in the kind of purplish suit that almost looked like he had like the jean vest at the end of it that they took with him.
As a Spider-Man or
where they were like, watch this particular area, and he's like on sentry duty.
Oh, you mean Ben Reilly?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, but like he looked different.
Scarlet Spider.
Yeah, he looked different than like every other Spider person looked different because that was like their artist rendition of it, which I thought was like kind of a. If they held true to the people who drew the comic books, then I think that was a nice nod towards, you know, like it doesn't matter who's doing what book, Spider book. It's like everyone has their own thing. I love that they brought a lot of. I wanted to see more noir. I would like to have seen more Spider-Ham. I like that they brought the little girl back, and her suit looked like way fucking cooler. I don't know. I just at no point in that movie did I feel like it was dragging. I was enthralled from beginning to end. I loved Peter B. and his kid.
Yeah, Mayday.
Yeah, she was fucking adorable the entire time. I don't know. To me it was just a perfect movie.
No, I did not like it that much.
Oh, it's a lot of your points of views. It makes sense.
And I think I would have liked it more because what I liked about the last one was like all the characters, and now it's you throw all those people away and bring Gwen back. Well, like I liked Gwen and like Miles, but then you're bringing in new Spider-Man, and I'm like, I want to see the Spider-Man you established, not these new Spider-Man, and especially that feel like drop in, drop out sort of. It's like the Indian Spider-Man. He was cool, but he was there for his scene, and then he's gone, and not in the rest of the movie. Hobie shows up for a little bit, but then he's gone, and like not back until like the rest of the movie. And it seems like they're doing sort of fan service, like, hey, cool, look, we could have an Indian Spider-Man. He could be part of the universe. Isn't he fucking neat? Well, he's gone now, and so we're gonna move on from there.
And you should
like check out this English sort of Spider-Punk, and he kind of cool. Well, he's gone now. He's done. We're done with him. Check out this Spider-Man. Oh, look, it's Peter parked cars. Isn't that funny? Well, it's fucking gone. That's out of this fucking movie.
Yeah, you did the Lego Spider-Man. It was, apparently, Amber said that was done by a fan that basically put that together on his own time. They added it into the movie.
Okay.
That's part of the. I thought that was neat.
It's
But yeah, I liked that. The only thing that confused me about the movie, but it still wasn't enough for me to drop it to a 9, was the whole thing about Miles had the unfortunate part of losing his uncle, which was his Uncle Ben. And then he had the realization that he was going to lose his dad. And it was like, why does he have to go through double trauma?
Because Peter, in the comic books, Peter loses Uncle Ben to become Spider-Man, and then he fails Captain Stacy. He dies, and it's always the captain of the police dies too.
Okay.
And then eventually, like, Spider-Man loses their first love too. Like Gwen Stacy, 616's Gwen Stacy dies. Like this one is not the Gwen Stacy in this movie is not the main continuity. She's
So he hasn't even met his Gwen Stacy or his.
This Gwen Stacy could be his Gwen Stacy. Maybe this movie ends with her almost dying, but him like subverting expectations or something like that. Like, does he save his dad? Apparently, if he saves his dad, the universe ends, or you have to bring in like your Spider-Man 2099 unit to kind of come in and try to stop the dimensional
Isolate the deterioration. Yeah.
So him saving his father, or if his father does not become the chief of police, that might be a way to do it too. But Spider-Man always fails his uncle. Spider-Man fails the chief of police. Spider-Man fails his first love. And those are kind of like what they're calling are the key moments that this movie is trying to walk back a little bit.
So wait a minute. Are you telling me that every iteration of the Spider-Man comic book where they've started the storyline over, they've done that part of the storyline every single fucking time?
I've not read them all to kind of tell you that, but that's generally... I mean, think about like the Spider-Man movies. You like had Captain Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. He died because he always dies.
Yeah, but you didn't have that in the Sam Raimi movies,
right? So what they took from the Sam Raimi movie, they alluded to with Gwen Stacy. You know, like him, Green Goblin holding Mary Jane in one hand and like the gondola full of children in the other one. That's how Gwen Stacy died. Green Goblin made Peter Parker make a choice, and when he dropped both of them, Peter saved the kids and then tried to save Gwen, but he was too late, and it's kind of the snapped her neck sort of thing.
I don't remember that movie. I see, for some reason in my mind, I'm thinking that was the Sam Raimi one where it was like choose.
Yeah, that's what it did.
But he saved both.
Yes, it's a reference to the comic books where when I was watching it originally, I'm like, oh, maybe, do they kill Mary Jane? That'd be kind of fun, crazy. Where like you kill Mary Jane and then you bring it Gwen Stacy and kind of do the 360 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they didn't. He managed I saved both of them.
Which means that you could just break the trend. So
He could.
Spider-Man 2099 is wrong.
Yeah, I mean essentially. I don't know. Again, this movie, I don't know if it works too well because it doesn't. That's not always true. I don't know that it's always true, and also I don't know that there's that many Spider-Man that would go along with it. Like pull Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and I'd be like, you know how hard it was for you to lose your uncle? Every Spider-Man has to do that. So come on, join on board, and let's go about and making sure every Uncle Ben dies. I don't know that many Peter Parkers would be like, yeah, let's fucking do it.
I feel like they're not pulled in until that happens. And then
Right.
I don't feel like
That's what I'm saying. You pull it in, like, you know how hard it was for you to lose your Uncle Ben. We need to make sure that keeps happening to alternate versions of you. Are you on board for that much pain that you went through? Because the world needs a Spider-Man.
As far as I know, the whole idea of your universe falling apart because this one person lives is like something that, as far as I know, could be where the Spot is going in and doing that. It has nothing to do with these people dying. It could be the Spot basically interceding. Maybe he tries to kill Miles in the next movie, but before that he goes and starts basically trying to eliminate every other iteration of Spider-Man since he can go there now.
I don't know if it is because it was happening before the Spot was superpowered.
But now he could travel through like dimensions and most likely through time, as fucking powerful as he got.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, the movie's not done. Maybe you're right.
Well, I hope hopefully it's not spoilers on the next movie, but like as powerful as that guy got in that movie, like it wouldn't to me be a stretch of the imagination for him to just be like, I'm gonna go back to baby fucking Peter Parker, I'm gonna just punch him in the fucking crib like Hitler.
Yeah, I mean maybe that's where they end up going with it. I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah, it's as far as rash and as holier than thou the 2099 version of Spider-Man came off, I wouldn't find it that much of a stretch of the imagination for like the Spot to be like, this guy's got to fucking go too, because you're fucking up my shit.
But I don't know. I mean, he's mad at Miles. I don't know if he's mad at Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, he's mad at Miles, but like that's a slippery slope. You start with Miles, and it's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill every Spider-Man there is.
Yeah, you could be.
So who knows? But yeah, because he's obsessed with taking his ass out, where he was just a joke in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And but as always, it's Peter Parker, or at least the one who is to become Spider-Man's. Their mouth always gets them in more trouble.
They make their own villains.
Yeah. So, but I really like the Spot too. I thought he was great.
He was neat. I mean, I liked him more when he was kind of the weird, goofy guy. Near the end, he just kind of got all fucking omni and not as interesting, I guess.
Yeah, he went full bad guy at the end.
Yeah, which I don't know. I don't know if that's as interesting, but I mean, that's where it's going. Hopefully he'll still have some fun personality come the next one. Because I think that's the stuff that's interesting. And that he was the bagel guy was kind of funny, too.
Yeah.
Bagel. That was him. And now he's got a bagel on his forehead.
So you have Shameik Moore as Miles. You have Haley Steinfeld as Gwen. You have Brian Tyree as Jeff Morales. Jeff?
Captain Morales, probably?
Sure. You have Luna Lauren Velez as Rio Morales, his mom. Jake Johnson, love this man. Peter B. Parker. Jake Johnson is an underrated actor. I'd like to see him in more things. Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hare, who is Spider-Man 2099. Oscar Isaac is a great actor.
Yep.
Love to see him in more stuff too. But that would almost be impossible since it seems like he's in everything right now.
No, but it also seemed like I wasn't imagining it that he was essentially a Morbius, right? He was a vampire.
He was Moon Knight.
No, I mean...
In this?
In this.
Yes, they show where he has teeth at one point, but it
never comes up again.
I think that might be part of what his deal is in the second movie. Because I have a feeling he eats his dad or something like that. I'm sure there are people out here that know this Spider-Man 2099.
But it's more of like they introduced it in this movie. Like I was like, oh, this is going to be... I'm interested to see kind of like essentially a Morbius version of Spider-Man, a vampiric Spider-Man. I'm like, this could be kind of interesting, and it never came up again.
Well, so when they introduced him at the end of the movie and the first one, I know that like the nerds went fucking nuts over it, knowing that he's possibly going to be in the next movie. Now he's in it, and they've given them enough to probably make the nerds go, oh, they're going to add all this stuff into it, but they haven't let the people who've not read the comic books in on the joke yet. So
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're just going to get more of that.
Again, the movie ain't done yet, which
I'm pretty sure he turns into a vampire and kills his fucking Uncle Ben himself by draining him or some shit like that. Or his Auntie Ben, whatever, whatever. Yeah. But Jason Schwartzman is the Spot. Love Jason Schwartzman.
What's he in? That's name's familiar.
Or
to show me a picture.
He's in... Jason Schwartzman?
Yeah.
That's him.
Oh, he's the one in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I was going to leave that one out last.
No,
I was going to give you.
Yes, I see his face.
I was going to give you a myriad of other movies first.
No.
But okay, well, we don't have to do that bit then.
Yeah.
All right.
So I ruined your bit by recognizing his face.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, this movie is just great. You had Andy Samberg apparently did a voice as Ben Reilly in it, which I think was the
yeah. It's a Scarlet Spider. It's
looking cool. Jack Quaid was Peter Parker voice in this movie apparently. Yeah. Rachel Dratch as Miss Weber.
Yeah, I recognized her voice.
And they even made her look like a frumpy version of herself, too.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So, Ziggy Marley was Lenny.
Ziggy Marley?
Bob Marley's son.
Okay.
I think. It's just J.K. Simmons as Jay Jonah. You heard him in the background. Donald Glover, Aaron Davis.
I mean, there is no... the talent is there. It's done super fucking well. This movie is fucking gorgeous, to the point where I think this movie's a 4, but I gave it a 6 because this movie is fucking gorgeous, and just everyone in it is really fucking good. It's just the matter of the story being boring to me at this point.
Hey, who knows? You could be completely right. I could be completely wrong. I'm just drinking the fucking Kool-Aid like everybody else right now.
Let's see. Which I don't know. Do we want to move on to that bit? Because I've heard no one complain about this movie. And it made me think I'm crazy.
You're not. A lot of you. So you are basically reacting now to what people are already bitching about with the Batman movies. Mm-hmm. I know there are plenty of people who said, if I see an origin story on Batman one more fucking time, I'm going to lose my mind. Mm-hmm. And then you have what happens with this. However, they took it in a different direction because, even... Uncle Ben wasn't moonlighting as a fucking, But
I loved Across the Spider-Verse, and they essentially did the origin story again, or whatever.
Sure.
But it was his origin story, and it was what... it's not... I don't necessarily have an issue with it being the origin story again. It just... I feel like multiverse shit doesn't matter as much anymore. Because it doesn't matter how we... this character dies. Well, just brand... Look, there's another Miles Morales. We'll just brand a different Miles Morales. And it doesn't feel like the universe has consequences. Things that happen in the universe don't have consequences because there's another universe out there where everything's just fine.
Sure.
And I kind of miss one storyline where, if this person dies, they're dead or whatever, and we'll have to find some new way to not be they killed off, not Nebula, they killed off Gamora, and oh shit, isn't that a big fucking deal? Well, she's back, and now there's no consequences, and
but they don't really do that in the Spider-Man stuff. When they're dead, kind of a thing, in the Spider-Man movies at least.
But are they? Because Uncle whatever is back. And
in a different universe.
Yes, I'm saying.
Oh, okay,
it's going to be... It feels like there's not as much consequences because there's another version out there to kind of come in and step in.
Sure, but, I guess where I would refute that is the fact of... sadly, this is the world we live in where it's basically... There is a thought that there could be multiverses around us, different storylines that are happening, and we're just one cell of it, traveling through our time stream, and people are obsessed with the idea. Especially if you put out a bad movie, you can be like, "Oh, there's another multiverse out there. It's a movie that you like even better."
Yeah.
They did it with the fucking Mass Effect game. That when people hated Mass Effect 3, and they're like, "Oh, here's a different ending where it could be whatever you want," but. The one thing I will say about that is, while it happens to the Peter Parkers or the whoever's of the universe, Stan Lee said in the first movie that basically Spider-Man can be anyone. Mm-hmm. And what resonates with me about that is that we all have tragedy that happens in our life. It doesn't have to be your uncle dying. It doesn't have to be your dad dying. Something fucking happens that makes you change as a human being. Mm-hmm. It's happened to everybody. It's happened to both people sitting at this table.
Yeah.
Didn't make us put on a suit and shoot webs out of our ass, but it still changed us and the course of who we are. Mm-hmm. That resonates with me for the fact of it's just a simpler way of just saying things happen and you have to fucking move on. You have to keep being yourself and it will change you, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Mm-hmm. That's the way I took that whole, that thing, whatever this is happens to Peter Parker. It's just but saying that, mm-hmm. I will agree with you that it is basically kind of a lazy cop-out that always happens to the uncle and it always happens to the captain or whatever.
Even my thing being... and like consequences don't matter. It's not about that because that part's fine. I mean, that's interesting. Like, I've seen all these other people's uncles die. Or all the other captains have died. I'm not going to let that happen to my dad because he's about to be captain. Okay, that's fine. I just mean the universe failing without consequence because if this Miles dies, we got another Miles, or if this Gwen dies, we got another Gwen. If it was a locked off universe, at least that Gwen would be dead in that universe or whatever. Like if you're watching The Amazing Spider-Man, like that Gwen died. Like, shit, that sucks. But in that universe, she's dead. But once you start connecting that to everything, now we've got another Gwen and another Gwen here and another Gwen, and now we can start pulling in Gwens, and it just feels like that impact is going to lose its, or that event is going to lose its impact because now, I don't know.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. And that's valid, but it's like you're not going to see that in this particular, like, I don't think it's going to lose its poignancy because you're not going to see that in this movie line.
Yeah.
Until they do, like, the next version of Spider-Man where, they do that. But, yeah, it's the Batman storyline shit all over again. It's like, we don't need to see another iteration of Batman's fucking parents dying because everyone fucking knows it at this point.
Yeah.
But it has so much artistic value in most versions. And it's like you said, what they did in Harley Quinn, the way they... flip that up.
You got to be different about it now.
Yeah, that was interesting, but yeah, it's. I mean, honestly, you've kind of expanded. I'm still leaving the movie at a 10, but you've kind of expanded the way I thought about the storyline that I watched.
So the way I feel about this movie, while not as negative, reminds me of me watching Star Wars Episode 7.
Okay.
And everyone being like, "Man, that fucking movie was something else, wasn't it?" I'm like, "No, it was a piece of trash." To the point where everyone is giving, like, anything I've heard of this movie has been like, this is the best fucking movie, and this movie needs so many fucking Oscars. And I'm like, this movie was middling at best. The animation, however, is fucking amazing. The acting's great. The story, I don't like the story. I'm tired of hearing how hard it is to be Peter Parker or be Spider-Man. We've had that conversation in this movie like 4 times.
But again, I think it's the whole thing is about breaking the mold, and I think that's what Miles is trying to do.
But they still showed that scene 4 times in this movie. I'm guesstimating or whatever, but like the showdown that Gwen had with her dad, be like, "Oh, you can't arrest me. I'm Spider-Woman," and I like all this shit. Like, oh man, it sure is hard to be Spider-Woman. And then she gets pulled away from it. Miles Morales being late for his thing and having the conversation with his parents, like, man, sure it's hard to be Spider-Man. He was out there fighting this guy and trying to pull away and do his life. It sure is fucking hard. Showing up to his dad's thing late. Sure it's hard to be Spider-Man. I'm late to this thing and I disappointed my parents with this little cake or whatever. Them up in the clock tower having the conversation again kind of equated to like, man, all my problems would be much easier in life if I weren't Spider-Man. Isn't it hard to be Spider-Man? I could have this girl I love, but I can't because I'm too busy being Spider-Man. And it just kind of feels like there's and then, I don't know, Gwen meets up with her dad again, kind of for like the apology side of it. And there's just a lot of conversations that seem to revolve around, I mean, this is the 10th fucking Spider-Man movie.
Sure.
I've seen those conversations a lot, and I don't think they twisted them enough.
Okay. I could say one thing that would change that for you.
Sure.
Every Spider-Man seems to be a workaholic.
Mm-hmm.
The motherfucker sits around and listens to the fucking radio thing, and someone's like, someone stole candy from a store, and here he goes out the fucking window to, like, knock out a 10-year-old. But, like, it's the fact that he's a workaholic that shit happens to him. If he wasn't quite the workaholic, he'd be there at certain family events to keep them from dying.
And then people would be dead. I mean, it's kind of if Superman was like as moral as Superman is, him going to work at a paper means people are dying.
Mm-hmm.
Him going down to write a report means people are dying. I mean, you got to have that sort of balance to it. But I just mean the fact that we've had that conversation a lot. And some Spider-Man movies have lessened it a bit. I don't think it was as there in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It was a plot point in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2. It was kind of gone by Spider-Man 3. So they've kind of weaved in and out of how hard it is to be Spider-Man. It's not in every single Spider-Man movie. But the fact that Spider-Man 2 told that it's hard to be Spider-Man and I want to give this shit up, and I don't know, I think like that story's been told that they devote... I mean, this movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I think they could have cut out some of that stuff or lessened it and focused more on the I'm not going to let this happen to another Spider-Man thing, because that part's different. Like when he's in the Universal thing where like check out all the times where the Captain Stacy has died and checked out all the time where the Uncle Bens have died, and him being like never again. That's new. That's different. That's more interesting than I can't. Man, where am I going to go to school? How am I going to have all this time to be Spider-Man? And
maybe you just said it. Maybe I didn't catch it. So that didn't happen in the Sam Raimi movies because there was no Gwen Stacy in the beginning.
Right. They didn't. The Sam Raimi movies didn't do the death part of it. But when in Spider-Man 2, he could never be with Mary Jane because she was marrying Jay Jonah's son.
Sure.
And he was, man, I wish I wasn't Spider-Man, because if I wasn't Spider-Man, I could be there for Mary Jane. And it's just it's hard to be Spider-Man because there's these things I want.
And then he quit being Spider-Man and got her back.
But he essentially quit being Spider-Man, and all the shit was going wrong in the world, or at least in the city, because he stopped being Spider-Man.
Sure.
Walking by the alley, seeing that man get beaten up, and know that if he was Spider-Man, he could have stopped it. But he had to turn away, because being able to live the life he wants means that people have to suffer because of it. He's got this power, and is it his responsibility to use it for good?
I mean, other heroes...
And he tends to come to the conclusion that, yes, I need to...
It's also Spider-Man's fault for living in the Sony universe. If he moved over to the Marvel universe, he'd have a lot of people like Daredevil who could like swing over from Hell's Kitchen and help him out some. Yep. Take up some of the slack. Then he could just pay it forward by going over to Hell's Kitchen and helping him out a little bit.
Well, most of the Spider-Men find the balance. Hence why I read the Spider-Girl comic for a little bit at least, and it is Mayday Parker. It's May Parker, nicknamed Mayday, where she inherits his powers because she's his son, or she's his daughter, and therefore she becomes Spider-Girl. And at that point in time, he's kind of like retired, and he gets to just kind of live his retired life with Mary Jane, and it's kind of Spider-Girl going out to be Spider-Man. So there are things in which he's figured out the work-life balance. I think Spider-Man 3 had it. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 had more of it. To the point where he's like, man, I can be Spider-Man in London. There's crime in London. Where some of them have figured out the work-life balance, and I think them focusing on in this movie this much, I've heard it a lot. I'm tired of it. Which, I think to a lot of new fans, maybe it's more interesting. This is my 10th fucking Spider-Man movie. I've heard it.
I'm still in.
I'm bored.
So
I'm bored of that.
So the other thing that I think that, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Completely valid point of view. But what I will also say is that the one thing Spider-Man has, and I think which makes it such a hot fucking property, because I mean, one could argue that it is the most successful superhero movie of all time. And it's because of the human element. We can identify with Spider-Man because Spider-Man has very human problems.
Yeah.
You look at people like Superman. Non-identifiable because he's a human. He's a Kryptonian that
he's beyond human. He's Superman.
He's not fucking relatable.
Yeah.
So I think that's where when you see Batman's parents get killed, which turns him into Batman, it's relatable because it's very traumatic. It's something that could fuck with you, and I guess make you do something to make the world want to be a safer place.
But it's also less. I don't know. It might be less relatable to some people because if you've got alive parents, you kind of can relate to Batman just a little bit less.
Sure, but the thing that every single one of these has in common, the fact that it's something that's so fucking traumatic that makes the dial just swing all the way back in the other fucking direction to be like, I have to do something. Because I don't know about you, but I keep seeing the news or storylines or these companies that are doing this thing that's denying people of this medicine that they need, and it's like someone has to fucking do something, and it makes me want to do something, but it's like, what the fuck can I do? I don't know. You've kind of got me a little fucked up because pointing that out, it's a very, very valid point. But to me, for some reason, I guess I haven't gotten sick of it yet, just for the fact of it's not the same shot in a different artistic style in the beginning of every movie, at least with every Spider-Man. it's kind of their own version of whatever's going on in their universe.
It's not just the Spider-Man thing. It's also the multiverse thing. In that it seems like multiverse is the trend in superhero movies now to kind of like fix problems. Like the DCEU is going away, and they're going to use the multiverse theory to kind of fix the problems.
Which people should be pissed about.
Probably.
Well, the only reason I say that is like everything that you've watched in the past, you've just wasted your fucking time on because none of that is canon anymore because we're sliding you into a new multiverse where we're doing the storylines you want to see.
Well,
so.
I mean, if you watch a movie and you like it and they remake it, are you supposed to be automatically pissed because you've already watched the remake and now they're doing a new one and people are going to forget about the old one?
No, but I'm excited about this particular one because my favorite DC story was Flashpoint, which essentially is supposed to be what's kind of happening here, but then I've seen some of the stuff that they've shown in the trailers, and I'm like, this is not Flashpoint.
Yeah, I'm interested to watch it, but I'll watch it when it's on Max. HBO Max, or whatever they're calling it nowadays.
Well, that was my next question, is that comes out very, very soon.
I've not been keeping up with the DC movies enough to want to go see it in the theater.
If you just happen. I'm probably going to go see it because The Flash is my favorite superhero of all time.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go see it opening weekend, maybe, most likely. But that comes out on Father's Day weekend.
We'll see. I mean, this thing will be out before Flash is out. So, I mean, if you really want me to go see it, you let me know, hey, Nick, go see this movie so him and, like, you two can talk about it.
Help me get you another new to the scene.
And Amber doesn't count.
That's fucked up. That was my ace up my sleeve.
I know.
Well, she's not going to watch this because she hasn't seen the movie, and she's not going to watch this before seeing the movie. So, Amber does count. I'll take you to see the movie tomorrow, baby.
No, that might just be you saying to Amber, hey, go into the comments real quick and say, yeah, Nick, do that.
I'd never do that to you.
I
totally do that to you. But yeah, no, a lot of your points, they're very good points. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who also share your feelings on that, but there's a lot more yay voices than nay voices right now.
I was like, I do occasionally go on Twitter just because, I follow some artists on Twitter or whatever, so I like to see what kind of shit they're throwing up. And occasionally it must just be like, hey, this is the hot thing, and like everyone throwing up like Spider-Man shit, and I gotta be like, okay, don't watch this. But me getting the flood of people saying this movie's fucking amazing, and I know I loved the last movie. So when I go in to watch this movie and it's just not there for me, that just kind of makes it hurt that much more, I guess, in that it's only a 6, and a 6 is above average.
Yeah.
But I still just didn't like it. It's above average because the visuals and like this, and the actors or whatever are so fucking good. I love that. The story is awful to me.
Agree to disagree.
No.
I guess I'm just drinking the fucking Kool-Aid. Am I crazy?
Or am I crazy?
Yeah, like, please, someone go to the comments and, like, say, don't just trash us. Like, if you don't like what Nick said or you don't like what I said, don't just be like, fatty, fat said blah, with his stupid Transformer shirt. Like, please put in some constructive criticism. Let's show that there's an ounce of civility and intelligence still left in YouTube, and hopefully it can manifest from our channel. But just like leave good points down in the bottom, like letting us know. Like, is there something that we're missing from other Spider-Man storylines that we're not understanding?
Yeah.
I'm a comic book reader, and he's a comic book reader, but we have not read all the Spider-Mans because there's a fuck ton of them.
That's even when I was reading. Spider-Man wasn't one of the titles I picked up much.
Me either.
The reason I originally picked up Spider-Girl was because it was in low numbers. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I might actually be able to catch up on this one and know what the fuck's going on.
Right.
Whereas a lot of the times you go look at a Spider-Man and it's Spider-Man
382.
Yeah, 382, and like I'm not going to pick up issue 3. If I've never picked up a Spider-Man comic, the first one I'm going to buy is not 382.
No, you're right.
So I tend to either buy, or I would look for or read specific stories. Mm-hmm. Like I've read the Maximum Carnage one a couple times, just because those were ones that like we had or whatever. And like, I've read Maximum Carnage, and that's why I like Venom and Carnage and stuff, because it was a full arc and it's done, and I read it.
Right.
But rather than trying to pick and go to the store and just like pick one up, and they're in the middle of an arc, and like I don't know what the fuck's going on in this story, I'm not going to read it. At least when I picked up Spider-Girl, whatever, I think I got it like issue like 60 or something like that. And I'm like, I'm only 60 issues behind. Maybe I can figure this shit out. And read it for like a few issues at least. The
Scarlet Pimpernel shows back up and he's like, man, Spider-Woman, we meet again. You're like, fuck, that must have happened around the 30s. Fuck it. Let's just act like I knew what's going on. What you just said reminds me. So when I got into comic books when I was a kid, I had a babysitter that after I got out of elementary school, I always went over to her house because she lived like right across the street from the school. And then my mom, when she got off work, would come pick me up from there. Shelva, I love you, Shelva. But when I would get off from school, then there was that couple hours where we went over to Shelva's house and hung out. And when you got in trouble, she would remove you from the rest of the kids. That usually meant that she stuck you in one of her son's rooms, which was Scott or Chuck. Scott was the one who read comic books in her house because that was her youngest son. And Chuck had the room that had like motorcycles and fucking, whatever, cars up on the wall. And I remember one time I got in trouble. She stuck me in Scott's room, and Scott's room his floor was littered with comic books, and that's where I got into X-Men. I started reading like issue 80, and I got to read like issue 94, which was the changing of the team and everything like that, like in his room because he had all these X-Men comic books. Then my mom bought me my first Star Wars comic book, which got me to be a collector. So then I jumped on the Uncanny X-Men train probably around issue like 100, 105, something like that, which meant that there was 100 other comic books that I had to basically collect if I wanted them.
And I know that's annoying because I know we've talked about like, I never wanted to watch Doctor Who because it was like season 4, and they're like, no, you don't have to watch the rest of the shit. And I don't want to miss out, or people saying like, this show doesn't get good until season 5, just start there. I'm like, I'm not going to miss out on 4 seasons.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's just I think we're the kind of completionists sort. Like, if we can't watch all of it, we don't want to piece out a bit of it.
I mean, that's what Amber's doing with me. With like, she really, really wants me to watch Supernatural, but it's like, I don't. It's daunting.
Yes.
To just get through that many fucking episodes.
And for that, like, picking up issue 101 or whatever, there's 100 issues you're missing out. It just kind of makes me feel like I'm missing something.
Well, it's like somebody even told me with the Uncanny X-Men, they're like, well, it's like X Factor until you get to this, and then they changed the team over in 94. And it was like, that doesn't matter. Like, they've still established, like, bad guys and, like, their storyline there. But, like, honestly, somebody pointed this out to me the other day, and I really didn't like that they said it. It was like, basically, comic books are nerd soap operas.
They are.
Yeah, they're completely fucking right when it comes to that, but I did not like the way they phrased it.
So here's my comic collection. Yeah. I've only got like 19-ish Spider-Girls, but I nailed the number. Yeah. 60 to about 80 was about as much as I read of them. And even like when you're talking about like Uncanny X-Men, I've got a few. And like the X Factor, I mostly started picking up X Factor because there was a Mystique storyline where she joined the team, so I picked up a few. But I have like X Factor like 8, 9, and 10 and stuff. So I've read some of them. Yeah,
X Factor was another kind of that was kind of like the Fantastic Four when the X-Men started out, because most of those guys, their powers were very uninteresting.
Well,
you have Laser Beam Face and Mind Whoop Whoop Girl and a guy who can run around like a monkey. And
I think it was around like, it might have been issue 108 to like 149-ish. That might be why I collected those bits, but it was because Mystique was on the team. Oh. So I went to X Factor because this is the Mystique time or whatever, and Sabretooth was also on the team.
Yeah, that was a golden age. I got lucky. I had a comic book shop that was right next to one of the arcades that I used to go to when I was a kid, and he had a back issue box, and that was when X-Men weren't like a big property. So I was just going there and like buying them for a quarter and shit. So I probably got like a lot of the old school comics down there that I had to buy for a quarter, but they were probably in terrible fucking condition. But I'm too afraid to go back and look.
So I guess before, like, I think we're nearing the end. Mm-hmm. So before we do that, would you like to do your little guessing game?
Yes.
All right.
You can play at home.
Yeah.
So
just don't have looked at Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb yet.
Yeah, you're fucking cheating. Don't do that.
Yeah.
All right. So Nick.
Yes.
On IMDb, what do you think the rating is?
9.8.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Out of 10?
Yep.
No, 9.0.
Okay.
See, there are people out there that agree with you.
Nines. I know it's
93,800 or 382 reviews.
Mm-hmm. 93K people.
Yeah, that's about
a 9. That's really fucking good.
Yeah, it's great. Don't get me wrong. Like the Metascore is 59 critics for 86. So yes, this movie is getting rave reviews, but honestly, I think it deserves the rave reviews. I fucking love that line where it was like, "You can't change the timeline." He's like, "People keep telling me what I can't do." No,
yeah,
I'm doing it different.
Well, that's the stuff I like.
Yeah, that line gave me fucking chills when he said it in the movie. So
if it hadn't occurred like 2 hours into the movie, maybe it would have been, maybe it would have hit me different.
And he's always so, like, Miles is always so timid. He doesn't want to fucking rock the boat, you know? He's, like, nuding Spider-Mans. You see all these other Spider-Men. It's like, oh, they must know so much more than me. And then finally he's like, you know what? These guys are just as fucking flawed as I am. Yeah. I've got just as much say over my destiny than this motherfucker who's going to tell me how to live. No, I'm not doing that. All right. So, on Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think the critics gave this movie?
I would go 91%.
91? 95.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think the audience gave it?
95.
95, exactly. 95 and 95 with critics and audiences, which is the highest I've ever seen those two entities agree on anything. But yeah, the movie is gorgeous. Absolutely fucking gorgeous. The storyline, I think, is great. I love the Spot's fucking origin story just because it's so silly.
That's silly and interesting.
Yeah. And I love that you see him in the first movie. He's bagel, like, balked in the head with a bagel guy. Yeah. And I just love how he's like, you remember the first time we met? I'm your nemesis. He's like, you're not my nemesis. And like, I thought that was the funny part is, I think Miles was trying to be slightly, like, respectful until...
He's trying to, like, take him down, but not, like, I don't know, be an asshole about it or whatever.
Well, it's... But,
like, yeah.
But the guy's doing what like the Venture Brothers, where you have oh God, what's his name? The fucking anyways, no, not Brock.
Or one of the villains.
One of the
Monarch guy or whatever.
Yeah, Monarch thinks that he's like Dr. Venture's like super fuck, and Dr. Venture's like, who the fuck are you? You know, and he's just like, it hurts his feelings. But it almost felt like that kind of like reiteration of that thing, but like. He gets super fucking powerful, super fucking quick, and he just becomes, like, super deadly. And it doesn't matter because, like, Spider-Man can't talk him out of it because he's already talked him into it. And the guy's dead set to fucking, like, fulfill his destiny. But you've given me a lot to think on.
So, I think what I was really enjoying... I started out really enjoying this movie when it was going on about Gwen Stacy. Because that is... I've not read much of the Spider-Gwen stories or whatever. But I knew... Were you aware that Peter Parker was the Lizard in that universe?
Yes.
Okay. I knew that much. And that would have been interesting to see, I think.
Because we've
very, very... In kind of story and kind of like, oh, no, things fell on him. But I think I would have liked... If that was the story or whatever. Where the movie was...
About Gwen?
About Gwen. And it was that. I think it would be more... And it wouldn't be a Spider... But it wouldn't be Miles Morales across the Spider-Verse at that point in time. It would be a Spider-Gwen movie. And I think that's the sort of thing that's going to keep me interested in Spider-Man movies.
You're going to get it next. Right now, we are in the apology phase of our universe. Where it was like... And I say that in the most ironic way possible, and I'm not trying to say it insulting, but basically, it got realized it was like everything is white fucking dudes down the line. And things that should have had people in color in it are white fucking dudes down the line. When they changed it up in Daredevil and made Michael Clark Duncan Kingpin, the fucking white dudes went crazy. And the only thing I could say was, who else are you going to put in that fucking role?
Which is where I was, too. Like, they said, like, Michael Clark Duncan's going to be the Kingpin, and I was like, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's fucking huge.
Who else is going to be, like, that fucking big and, like, just built?
And has that slow, measured way of talking. He has that deep fucking voice.
Not menace to him without even trying.
I thought it was fucking brilliant. And then they made Vincent D'Onofrio the Kingpin in the new... He's fine.
I don't like him as much.
But he's unsettling.
Yeah.
And Kingpin's not supposed to be unsettling.
It's the him being, I don't know, kind of like getting barbarian angry sort of thing. I'm not super into with the Daredevil.
So that is Kingpin.
But that sort of like...
But the way he plays it off, the way he does it is just a little unsettling.
I don't like it as much. I like him being that kind of like, oh, everything's fine. But then like, I don't know, Daredevil coming in, and that's when he gets fucking pissed or whatever. Yeah. Not just like, sorry man, oops, and then just being like, I'm gonna crush your head in the door or whatever. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, that's usually Kingpin. He's usually very reserved, and he'd rather destroy you with his paycheck or with his wallet.
Yeah, and then he gets pissed and goes.
And then he gets banana fucking pissed. But what I'm saying about the whole thing about being in the era of like apology is I think Hollywood finally recognized there's a lot of other people out there that see movies other than fucking white people. Yeah. So like let's you know, I hate to say it this way, cash in on females watching movies and cashing in on people of color watching movies. Representation is very important.
Yeah.
Very important. One of the videos that Amber showed me that actually like almost crushed my heart because it was so adorable was a little girl seeing Monica Rambeau as Photon in the WandaVision, and like she was like "It's me, Mama, it's me." And when she said that, it almost tore my fucking world down because she was so adorable. Representation, very important. But yeah, it's. I think you're going to end up getting your Gwen Stacy, Spider Gwen. Like, she got her own comic book. She got her own figure.
At least not by these people.
Oh yeah, no.
But as a movie, I think that could be interesting, and that's more of the stuff I would be interested in. Because I don't know. Across the Spider-Verse Beyond the Spider-Verse came out. It was the first multiverse movie, and then every Marvel property was like fucking multiverse. By the time that this movie came around for its second one, where you should just be like, "And look, we're continuing the multiverse," and I'm supposed to be ready to continue the multiverse. I'm like, I'm fucking tired of it. You've already thrown the multiverse at me too much. I was like, it wasn't us. It was these guys. These guys threw the multiverse at you. I'm like, well, unfortunately.
Yeah, they got there first.
And unfortunately, I've seen them.
Yeah, been there, done that.
I can't unbore myself from the multiverse.
I get what you're saying, but it's like, I guess it's like superhero fatigue. There's a lot of people out there that don't want to see superhero movies anymore because they feel like all the shit has just kind of been done. But superhero fatigue has not worn in on me yet. It's starting to.
It's not superhero fatigue. It is the same type of superhero movie fatigue. Whereas if you keep putting out superhero movies with the same formulaic sort of thing, that's the shit I get tired of. Like, here's Iron Man going up against Iron Man counterpart. Here's Iron Man going up against Iron Man counterpart. Here's Hulk going up against Hulk counterpart. It's fun when it's Superman versus Lex Luthor. Or it's fun when it's, God, is there other ones where they've actually flipped the script?
So yes, CW's version of The Flash.
Oh, it's Flash versus the Flash.
So in the first season, it was the Flash versus the Reverse Flash. Then the next one, it was I think it was Godspeed, and then the one after that, it was, I can't remember the fucking guy's name. When they hit the fourth season, I told Amber I am tired of seeing speedster against speedster storylines. They brought some super fucking brainy guy, and it was the worst season ever.
But is that different hero things, or is that a CW thing?
Yes.
Yeah. But I thought of one. It's Thor versus Loki. That's interesting.
Okay.
Because they're different.
Sure.
And I think that's the fun part. You don't put Superman up against Superman. You put Superman up against Lex Luthor, because Superman can beat the living shit out of Lex Luthor. That's not the interesting part.
That's
Thor versus Loki. It's kind of the I'm strong and dumb versus I'm conniving and cunning but not very strong. And when you put up Loki against the Avengers, that's more interesting, because as a team, absolutely they can beat the crap out of Loki. But Loki's doing his kind of secretive stuff, and he's got a different power set, and that's more interesting.
Sure. Okay, I can agree with that.
And I think when they keep putting out superhero movies that are superhero A versus evil A, that is the version of superhero fatigue that I'm in.
You gotta admit the Vulture fucking was really cool in this movie, though.
He was pretty cool. I don't know that I liked him more than Michael Keaton Vulture, and that's not even the first time we got Vulture, which is unfortunate too, but I guess.
But some of the shit he was doing, like, I thought you'd like it, but just because when he was like throwing the bombs and everything, it almost looked like the paper things that you liked from that one cartoon.
Which cartoon?
Like whenever he would throw like the bombs and everything like that, it always had like the drawing, almost plan looking of it, where he would like throw it up and it was like read or die, she would do certain paper things.
It's interesting, and like I said, the Gwen Stacy part of this movie was the most interesting part to me. And once we started swapping and going around, and the Vulture being a different art style was a little bit jarring to me. And it only got more jarring as the movie came on, where I didn't find the styles meshed quite as well.
I loved it. I felt like they just I feel like that movie, the reason it came out, and the other reason the second part might come out, is they gave it to like 40 different studios and went, draw this bit.
Oh yeah.
And then we will sew the movie together.
We'll see. I mean, this is part one of a movie. This movie isn't done. It's like I watched the first 2 hours and 20 minutes of a movie, and like the next 2 hours and 20 minutes is coming out later. Okay, I guess I'll watch the rest of the movie later.
See, I loved that twist where he went home and saw that his uncle was like, "No, he's still alive. That's great." And then he got captured, and then you have Miles as the Prowler.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was a great fucking twist. Because I was kind of where you were, where I was like, okay, we're 2 hours in this movie, and it seems to be no rapid sight. And then I realized it was like, this is going to be a two-parter. but hopefully they don't leave us raw. And then they left us raw, but the way they did it, I liked, because I am now chomping at the bit to see the next movie. Because I think a lot of movie studios are also realizing that you see this movie, you like it, you buy it on DVD. If you like it that much, then when the next movie comes out, most people are going to want to say, well, I want to watch the first movie over again before I go and watch this. If you don't have it on DVD, guess what you go out and do? So it results in more sales. So I feel like there's a greed element to it, but I'm still in. As long as you don't make me buy, like, the fucking Across the Spider-Verse and then the Across the Spider-Verse fucking special edition.
With
and
the
then
5 extra minutes that you're...
Then the director's cut, and then the Criteria collection. Don't sell me the same fucking movie 8 times and add, like, 10 more minutes. That's the only thing I fucking hate. Like, I can't stand that shit. This also being the same person.
How many Transformers movies do you have that are the exact same? In
my defense, the very first one, they cut out the cursing. Then they released the cursing version. Then they released the Blu-ray version. And then they released the 4K version.
Gotcha, bitch.
I love it enough to buy it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So,
but that's you're speaking from experience. Please stop selling me the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm broke. Stop it.
Yeah, but it got me raw on when I bought the Lord of the Rings shit, and then they did the director's cut, and then they did the really cool looking fucking box set that had like the bookends looking shit. Like, I've bought that movie so many times. Stop.
Yeah, I think I've bought Lord of the Rings 3 times.
It's ridiculous.
Theatrical, extended. Maybe I didn't buy. I might not have bought the extended on DVD. I might have waited until Blu-ray to buy the extended, and that's when I own all of it. So maybe I've only bought it twice.
And maybe that's why people rebel so much on the video games, where they're just like, oh, here's a video game. Oh, you want to buy the season pass so you get this story. Well, and everyone's like, sell me a complete game. Well, you didn't realize that you were already doing it in the past when you were like, I'll buy it for like director's commentary on the movie and like 5 minutes of bloopers. They're already doing it.
I think with video games nowadays is they try to increase the price of video games and we don't buy them. So they put them out at $60. But then they sell you the rest of the game for the $50 season pass. So really they're selling games for $100 to $120. So games are more expensive. They're just chunking it.
And that was a bullshit excuse they gave when they put out the PlayStation 5 and stuff. And they're like, oh, we're going to sell $70 because we're not getting enough of the game. You literally aren't giving me the complete game, and you're literally getting another $80 out of me if I just buy the rest of the story, not to mention the fucking collector's edition and the fucking Regala edition.
Let's get your special mount edition or whatever.
Yeah, like the Hogwarts game came out for Amber and she didn't want to buy it for political reasons, but I wanted to play it, so I bought it. And then I wanted to get her like the collector's version, but she did not want the game because she did not want to contribute money because she wanted to be supportive, and I get that, but I wanted to play it. And I support in other ways. I don't keep myself from like...
I still eat Chick-fil-A. It's good.
It's good. Well, I have to because it's convenient, because it's literally across the street from where I work.
I go to Wendy's near my place or whatever, and it takes like... There's maybe 5 cars in front of me, and it takes me 30 minutes to get through. I go to Chick-fil-A, and there's 20 cars in front of me, and I'm done, and I'm out in 5 minutes. They've got their shit together there. And I can go there and get my fucking chicken real fucking quick, and it's good fucking chicken. And I'm sorry, I'm eating the devil's chicken.
Well, whether you know it or not, you're contributing to some kind of hate or whatever. People who drive Volkswagens, they made Volkswagen to basically, like, for Nazis back in the day, like, to get around and shit. So
it's so hard.
Yeah.
Watch The Good Place, and there we are.
Yeah, every entity, everything throughout time has got skin in the game somewhere. Yeah. So if you start drawing lines on every fucking thing, you're not going to buy any fucking thing. So
you thought you were doing good, and you went and you bought flowers from a local shop, but unbeknownst to you, that guy's a predator.
Yeah.
And now you're supporting a predator, and you didn't mean to.
Don't buy gas from this gas station because they buy it from like this or exploit that, or buy it from this place, but that place doesn't have good enough regulations in their fucking boats, and it dumps millions of fucking gallons of oil in the ocean. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Nobody gets out of the fucking game alive. Even vegans think, I eat vegan because I don't want to kill things and I don't want to harm things, but apparently, like pesticides and everything that come into it, you're killing a lot of shit. So
it's even PETA, like, does bad things too.
Yeah, I've heard stories, but, you know, honestly, you can tell me all the stories you want to, but unless I'm standing in the fucking locker watching them do it, I don't necessarily know if that's true.
Yeah.
It could just be media spin. I don't believe... My father has had one saying he gave to me that I've carried all the way through my life. Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. You know, verify everything your fucking self. But then again,
Who's got the time?
Yeah, who's got the fucking time to be a pro or a fucking scholar at everything? So just, draw lines, but, you don't have to fucking fight everything. So, sorry. Didn't mean to get up on my soapbox there. But just, the world's a fucked up place, and people are going to try and sell you things because that's what we do. We're fucking monkeys who sell things to each other so we can keep living our lives and have our entertainment. But so just be selective, but at the same time, don't go overboard. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so I think we've talked about this movie
I think
enough.
we talked about this movie more than enough, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot more that I would like to go into, but, we've already been at this for an hour, and I would like to see where the other movie goes.
That's kind of where I guess I'm in a holding position to see what happens with the other movie. Maybe it'll raise my opinion of this movie. It's happened before. But it's also possible that the next movie lowers my opinion of this movie. That's also happened before.
We'll see. It remains to be seen.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess thanks for joining us. Let me know in the comments down below if I'm crazy, or let Lance know down below if he's the one that's crazy.
We know I'm fucking crazy.
But based off of how high of marks people are giving this, I think I'm the odd one out.
Well, you know what? Rise, minions, and defend Nick. Let us know.
Yeah, I want to hear what you think about this movie, even if it's negative. Just, don't bash the movie. Just give me the reasons why it's bad.
No, don't go overboard. Just give us the broad beats. So,
all right. Bye, everybody.
Until next time, true believers.
Excelsior.
All that shit.